Thank you. How do I follow that? History lesson. As post-war affluence took hold, so did homelessness, fueled by housing shortages, which were linked to slum clearances and the decline of the private rental sector. Homelessness after the war became a growing problem. Rachmaninism, which was profiteering through severe overcrowding and enforced by fear, entered the language. Families were being split as local authorities refused to include fathers in their remit for protection. Children were taken into care without any real safeguards or any understanding of what was best for them. And very little, if anything, was done for single homeless people. But despite all this, homelessness did not exist as a major concern in the minds of the people, on the pages of the press, nor as a subject worthy of much parliamentary attention. It certainly wasn't in those days a fundraising issue championed by high-profile charities. Until this.
It must be clearly understood that the temporary accommodation will no longer be available after that date. What does it mean?
I shouldn't worry about it. Doesn't mean what it says, maybe.
These people are casualties of the welfare state, perhaps the worst casualties of all. They're pushed around like so much human litter and nobody will help them.
Originally, homelessness was regarded as a passing post-war phase, but the problem now appears to be with us for the foreseeable future.
Oh, excuse me, I called about a room.
How many of you?
Well, there's just me and the two kiddies.
Sorry, I don't take children.
Don't be a fathead when your time comes. Don't be like Mrs. Grocott. Let's take them away without making any fuss, huh?
What right have you got to take my kids from me?
Well, you can't find a place for them, can you? Now, look, you've had your chance. We're not interested in you now. It's the kids we're worried about. We can't have them sleeping out. From the time they leave here, they'll be in need of care and protection.
Come on, Stevie, help Mummy pack up.
What do you have it?
Oh, that's a good boy.
Yes?
You're coming out with me in a minute. We had a bite to eat from the cafeteria. Of course, the kiddies didn't know what was going to happen. But I knew they'd catch up with us, wherever we tried to bed down for the night. You're not having my kids! You're not having them!
So first broadcast on the 16th of November 1966, Cathy Come Home did more than any other single event to turn homelessness into a major social issue and public cause. The play tells the story of a young couple, Cathy and Reg. When Reg is injured and loses his job, they're evicted by bailiffs, and they face a life of poverty and unemployment, illegally squatting in empty houses and staying in shelters for the homeless. Finally, in the scene you've just seen, Cathy has her children taken away by social services late at night. Written by Jeremy Sanford and directed by Ken Loach, Cathy Come Home was watched by 12 million people, a quarter of the British population at the time, on its very first broadcast. Its highly realistic drama documentary style, new to British television, created a huge impact. 20 years later, Radio Times Readers' Poll voted it the best single television drama, and in 2000, the BFI TV 100 poll rated it as the second best British television programme ever made. Then in 2005, it was named by Broadcast Magazine as the UK's most influential TV programme of all time. In the light of the public reaction to the film and a publicity campaign that highlighted the plight of the homeless, led by William Shearman and the Tory MP, Ian MacLeod, the charity Crisis was formed the following year in '67. By coincidence, Shelter was launched a few days after the first broadcast, St Mungo's followed in 1969. Why did it have such an impact? Because it cut through the dry and dusty jargon of social workers, political debate, and academic research to tell the raw human story, a family torn apart by homelessness and helpless in the face of bureaucracy. At the time, it sparked outrage and anger. And this is where I point my finger at some of you. It's no coincidence that this, the most powerful cause-related film ever shown on British television, was made by people who believed in the cause rather than by those working in a relevant charity. A point which is true of many of the more imaginative ideas we've seen today. As with Michael Burke's report on the Ethiopian famine that led to Live Aid, Cathy Come Home was produced without any thought to incorporating the latest mission statement, 50 pages of brand guidelines, approved wording, tone of voice architecture, or any of the other navel-gazing, self-obsessed nonsenses that preoccupy the marketing departments of so many large charities. If your cause is struggling in the public eye, the chances are you need a Cathy Come Home moment. The point where you find a way of presenting your cause with raw emotion and a sense of outrage in a language that people can relate to. As fundraisers, you must never forget the power of a human story well told. That's what Jeremy Sanford and Ken Loach understood. That last scene still moves me incredibly, and it's why homelessness is a cause that I'll always support. I only wish that I'd had the imagination and the energy to make a film like Cathy Come Home. Thank you.